Hi, this is Abe Freetanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm thrilled to be here today with Sam Boyd, Rachelle Williams, and Bridget Bedard talking about Love Life Season 2. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Great.
How are you?
See you.
Thank you.
Good. It's very nice to be here with you. I'm curious, did you have a concept of what Season 2 would look like before Season 1 started, and has it changed since then?
Sam, you want to start since you're the OG?
Yeah. I think from the very beginning, would each season reset and follow a new character, and then it would be a new and self-contained story. Oh no, he's frozen. Am I frozen? No.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Jeez, sorry. I'll start over with the answer. Sorry, Abe. From the beginning, the idea was that I think from season to season, Love Life would always kind of reset and follow a new character. And, I always view them as kind of a series of character studies and as an opportunity to kind of build out a shared universe where, each new character that we follow is in New York, and it's kind of all happening at the same time. And that there's this kind of like, this kind of buzz, like, it's all happening at once. And so as far as that goes, character specifics, everything else, we kind of started with a blank slate when we were all writing. It was just that initial concept of wanting to kind of, have each season be this self-contained character study.
And we do see.
Sorry. I was just going to add one thing, which is that from beginning to end of writing a season, it always changes so much. Like you start with this big idea and then you actually find it in the writing of it. So from beginning to end, we had an idea, a vague idea, and it took on a life of its own and became what it was by the end.
Did you look to any other anthology series about either what to do or what to avoid to create this new sort of sensation?
I know I didn't. I didn't want to get, influenced or anything. But I think too, like, this isn't an anthology series, but it's really a character study, so it's like the theme is love and their love lives, but every character is unique. And I think this, I don't know, I just think that's what makes it really like unique and interesting.
Absolutely. And we do see some familiar faces, of course, in the first episode. Is that something that is, we're trying to sort of tease viewers with all season to see if we're going to show up more people? Or do you think that's something that could be distracting if everyone's waiting to see their favorite characters from season 1?
It's a good question. I think it's definitely, back to what I was saying about always wanting that feeling that kind of it's this, these parallel stories, and that all this stuff is happening at once, and that kind of New York. I think it's a feeling that's very specific to New York, which is, just all the people and all the stories and that, to give it this kind of feeling of like, okay, we're walking down the street with one person, but then we pick up with someone else, and now we're going to learn everything about them, and we're going to, see, what their life is like, and what their family's like, and their friends, and what their relationships are, and how that, how that part of their life has shaped them, and all of that. And as far as, cameos and stuff, it's always fun, of course, to be able to bring the characters back together. But I think it was very important to us that this still very, very much felt like, we were telling this new story, and so it wasn't the sort of like, I think we try to stay away from kind of fan servicing in that respect, and just lean more into like, when would they, kind of naturally overlap, and how can we kind of like key into that feeling of the parallel universes without just making it feel like, okay, now we have to see these characters, or that the audience wants it, so let's figure out how to make that work, or whatever.
And race and identity seem to be a big part of season 2's themes in a way that they weren't in season 1. Can you talk about incorporating that and focusing on that?
Well, I think when it comes to race and identity, it's just automatic when you have a Black man as your lead. Like, that's just what's going to come out of it. It's like, it's not something that we didn't want to shy away from it, but also it's part of who I am. It's part of who the character is. Like, it just naturally is. And so versus trying to construct something that would avoid that or to try to like keep it cookie cutter and just like, it's just about a man, like those themes are in there. And like, and Will is so excellent with just how he takes on being this person and just the just being this Black man in New York, in the world. It just naturally comes out. Like we didn't have to hit anything over the head. We didn't have to we didn't have to do all that because it was just naturally there. And I think we just leaned into that and made a really cool story following this guy.
Absolutely. And of course, William Jackson Harper, your leading man, is familiar to most audiences, at least for romantic comedies, from The Good Place. And he has a very sort of distinct attitude about love and destiny and relationships. And I'm curious if that's something that you wanted to sort of work against in having him as leading man here, or if you played into that at all for people would be watching because of him.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Who wants to go first? What do you guys think? I'm happy to take it too if you want. But
I'll just say one quick thing. I think when it's a male romantic lead, like they're automatically kind of what's the word? Just nervous and that classic, archetype of like a guy in love. So you might see some cheaty-esque similarity, but I really ultimately is just like guys fumble all the time when they try to date. And it's funny to watch. And like, that's, I think what we're, have kind of captured here. So you can buy into it, but I don't think so. Not that many.
Yeah, I don't know that we thought about it a ton. And I think, it was fun. I think we also just really leaned into like who Will really is as a person and saw it as an opportunity to build a character that felt like him and that, there would be some kind of symbiosis in terms of like his performance, being amazing because he's an amazing actor, but also ringing kind of truer because we are tapping into who he really is and the kind of guy he is and how he presents himself to the world and everything,
Yeah. And one part that I assume isn't similar to how he is in real life, at the start of the show at least, is that he is involved in a relationship where he's not as invested as he should be. And that's an interesting sort of starting point. So were you concerned at all that audiences wouldn't like him because of this introduction?
I mean, it's a good question. We definitely discussed it in the room. We had to calibrate it in such a way that audiences would watch him and relate and say like, oh, I might do this, I might do that in that situation. And even if it's maybe like a little bit of a gray area, we definitely don't shy away from having our characters do unlikable things. It's more kind of trying to figure out what's the believable thing that the character would do. And so that's kind of like more of our touchstone, like, is this believable? And then of course, calibrating to make sure that, we don't lose people. Obviously we want people to relate to the story and the character.
And he also does a lot of texting, and that's something that we see on screen, like next to the action, which I feel like isn't something that we always see it that way. Was that a purposeful decision to sort of keep him in the frame and have all that for all those scenes?
I mean, Sam, you take that. That was your brainchild. So that text.
Yeah, that just, that was something we did because I think especially in the first episode, it really was a part of the story that, I don't want to say too much, but that, I think that story needed text messages and kind of the phone usage to be really clear and to feel unique and to not have everyone squinting like, oh, what does that little bubble say or whatever. So, I think that was why we approached it that way. And generally I've always liked to avoid phone usage, even with stuff that's set in contemporary times, because, it's the quickest thing to feel dated. But I think, this time we needed it. And so it was fun to kind of, especially since the show's recent period, to kind of go back through and go, okay, when is this episode set? 2016. So this is the iOS he would have, and this is, what that looked like, and having that kind of evolve in ways that only nerds will ever notice, and maybe not even them.
It's kind of unavoidable. I remember even 5 years ago trying to find ways to write scenes without showing phones, and now I just feel like it's so a part of our lives, and especially when you like talk about dating, we just found a way, I think, to incorporate it that was more realistic, I think.
And this was one of the first shows that launched with HBO Max. What has it been like working with that streaming service on this show?
It's been great. They've been nothing but supportive. They've been, it was a lot of pressure last year or not last year, I guess we've lost a year, but like last season, it felt like more pressure because they were launching and it had to be, we just felt the pressure. And I think this year, like we were able to kind of like ride the wave, a little bit of goodwill and like the service doing well. And it felt a little bit, more exciting in that sense, but they've been amazing. They've been nothing but supportive of the show and our choices and doing, we've never gotten a note that made me feel like they didn't get the show. So it's been great.
That's great. And I'm not sure how much say you have in the release schedule, but I know that the plan is for multiple episodes per week. Is that how you recommend audiences consuming it? Or would you want them to break it up a little bit more?
I'll take that one again. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I actually feel like it's the kind of thing that you just want to watch all at once, to be honest. So like, I would even be for just dropping them all at once, but I also think there's something fun about splitting it up into chunks. So we defer to them really with those decisions, but I think we all feel like fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say how it's split up will keep you wanting to go to like, wait till next week. Like, it's the first 3. And then like at the end of 3, like, okay, well now what is he gonna do? And then at the end of 6, like, oh shit, like now, is that a spoiler? Anyway, like at the end of 6, I'm like,
nobody will
it's
remember.
gonna really, yeah, it's like, so then you see that last block, you really, they divided it properly, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's also with a half-hour show, those can go by so fast that if you really only get one a week, it can be a little frustrating. So it's nice to be able to kind of put it out in these little like movie-sized chunks.
And have you talked a lot about season 3, or are you waiting to see how this one does first?
No, I think obviously any conversations we'll have with the network will kind of come once this season comes out and everything like that. But I think back to when you asked about the idea in the first place, it's kind of designed to be able to go for as long as they would be interested in making it, and that we're always going to be able to kind of like find amazing new actors and build characters around them and keep that going.
That's great. Fantastic. Love Life returns for season 2 with 3 new episodes on Thursday, October 28th. Thank you so much to all of you for speaking with me today.